200. And but that's a stock that I mentioned. There might be a play there too for us going into next week. Just thinking ahead. Now, we have a warning day identified for tomorrow, and I think that looking at today's market, the rally that we've had has been sort of contained. Let me get into the lesson, and we'll go from there. High degree of risk involved in trading. Past performance is not indicative of future results. In my opinion, I think we've got a few more days left here in May, about 4 or 5, and then we've got June to navigate through. We'll have that tax bill out there, moving to the Senate. I would expect the same kind of grandstanding we had in the House, and then the difference will be there'll be some loud voices trying to put a lot of negative out there, and I think that's just a shame because it keeps people that don't understand the market on the sidelines, and then they come in and buy at the highs. We don't have to do that. So far, we've got 2 long-term plays right now, and I'm going to add a third. The next stock, I'm not going to add it this week. I might add it next week or the week after next, is Microsoft. You can start watching it, put that on your watch list, Microsoft, for a long-term play. I've never been a big fan of Microsoft, but I just can't argue with what it's done or what it's doing. So Microsoft will be my next long-term play. That's my opinion. Now, I decided to do this because I trade the TQQ, SQQ quite a bit. I decided to run a beta test, a small one, in my weekly newsletter. So I'll start that immediately. So if you're signed up for the weekly newsletter, you got a big bonus here as I develop something I think everybody will be happy about in TQQ, SQQ, beta trading for maybe next, I'll say 10 days, maybe 15, I'll see, but I'll do it. But I think it's important to, get in that newsletter. I'm testing a few things. We had a special report last week or this week on Home Depot, the week before on Bitcoin, calling this move. And I'll try to, maybe have a special report each week because I think I see things that I can share with you, and I don't have another format to do it other than a weekly letter. We'll do it through that. But if you are a member of the weekly newsletter or want to join the weekly newsletter, I might start as early as today doing the experiment on the beta with TQQ, SQQ. So make sure, but the key for you is to get into the Telegram channel. The Telegram channel will be the key. We've got over 100 people that signed up that have made the transition from signing up and coming in there. So I want to make that a big push for you to take the time and get in that Telegram channel. It's going to be valuable to be there because I'm going to start the TQQ, SQQ beta run maybe as early as today. I'll see. Okay, maybe as early as today. TQQ, SQQ inside the weekly trade letter. Okay. Everybody fine with that? How about that for a bonus? That's a good one, isn't it? I really like what we're doing here on Monday afternoon. The feedback's been off the top. Right now, I'm only charging $9.99. So there it is, $9.99 for a year. So the Telegram channel is, Jonathan, what is the actual title of the Telegram channel? And how do they get in?
The channel is called the T-Buzz Weekly Trade Letter, just like the name here. And to get into it, once you join, you have a membership access inside One Click Trading. And inside that membership access, you'll find the link to join the Telegram channel. And that's pretty standard across the board, whether it's the T-Buzz Weekly Trade Letter or any other service that you join with Tom.
So they go to One Click Trading to get into the weekly letter, right?
That's right, for everything, for the weekly editions, for the Telegram channel, and for your special reports. But you
Wow.
got to be in that Telegram channel to get Tom's beta testing for TQQ.
And that's also where you're posting the newsletter, right?
We posted an alert that says the newsletter is available, and then you can log into the one-click members area to go read that alert.
Oh, okay. I thought you was putting it there. Okay. Okay. Well, I learned something. The special opportunity section with the Bitcoin was real timely. You'll find that, you know, that's the advantage of, you know, come and see me being in person. You'll find things that I do like that I never discuss about, hey, Bitcoin, you know, or Home Depot, you know, these are things that I'm doing personally that I don't have any way to get the information to you other than doing it this way. So it works out good for that. Now, today's lesson is on the concept of reference bars. You saw the power of that this morning when I showed you how it stalled right there about 75 on my pivot number. And that's important to TNT, getting that pivot number and be able to go. But let's discuss the concept of DTI reference bars. You know, the history of the reference bars, it was developed during my years with my Globex terminal. And I did it, you know, I'm a futures trader, you know that, we talk about that, but I did it because I had to figure out, and I stayed up a lot of nights watching the market, you know, change trends. And then I figured it out. I figured it out about 20 plus years ago. I really had something with this 24-hour market way before they started talking about overnight trading and other things. I figured it out. And, you know, it's something that I developed. We were initially started years back with 4 reference bars. And those 4 reference bars are, you know, RB1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 years ago, I added some additional reference bars because people got more knowledgeable. And I felt like that because of that, I really needed to do that. There's key times I have, you know, the pre-market time at 7 o'clock Eastern in the morning. That's my old 6 o'clock time from years ago. Genesis discovered that during futures about 2 years ago when I sat with a group of people here in Ponte Vedra about how important it was to get all those overseas markets closed. And you saw the importance of that yesterday. This sell-off originated from Genesis yesterday. Well, if you know Genesis, you would have caught the sell-off. And then, of course, the closing bell trade, because that sets up the night market. And I do a lot of trading at night, as my futures people have seen, when I got time to focus on it, and I do it at night. So that closing bell trade sets that up. And I think it's probably the most important education you can learn from me. No one else talks about this. You know, they do it without knowing what they're doing, meaning, you know, you've got Europe talking about their thing, the DAX, the FTSE, the Swiss, the CAC. They're always talking about their thing. They don't even have a understanding, I don't believe, how it fits into the big world of global trading. And then, of course, we move into Europe when you get into the DAX, and and that's really a great market, to track the DAX market. Taught it for about 20 years and got a lot of lessons on trading the DAX, dancing with the DAX and doing that over the years. It's been a very interesting market that's developed. In fact, I had a little history there bringing that to America. That's one of my claims to fame, if you want to call it. They came to me, they knew I traded it, and I went around the country introducing it. And years ago, when I did a lot of business with Options Express, I got Ned to bring the DAX feed on, and boy, they opened a lot of accounts for people to watch that DAX back in the day. Then they sold out the swap. But let me tell you about my time with the Globex terminal. The Globex terminal, I found out about it. I was exchange with the exchange. I found out that people in Chicago were getting this Globex terminal. And a friend of mine said, this is going to be the forerunner to electronic trading. I said, well, how do I get one? He said, they're not doing it. Then we started a campaign, said you ought to let people outside of Chicago have it. And they decided to let 50 people outside of Chicago to get it. Well, of course, they had to put it in the major cities, you know, Houston and Boca Raton, Florida, to give you an example. And I had to convince them to let me have it in Mobile, Alabama. And that was an interesting story itself. But I got the mayor to write a letter talking about international trade. We did all this. But luckily, Charlie Barish, who was head of it, had come to see me in Mobile a couple of times and sort of liked the assistant I had. And he was making trips back and forth to Mobile, and I was able to bend his ear, and I got, I think, the 50th approval to get the Globex terminal. Well, they were putting it in at their expense in all these big cities, but when it came to me, they called me and said, hey, Tom, you're going to have to pay to drop that line, that VPN line. I said, how much is it? And they told me, and I said, I'll do it. It's about $20-something thousand to get it there in Mobile, Alabama. It went down from Boca Raton to Birmingham and then down to Mobile, but I got it. Boy, I've made that money back pretty fast because the execution advantage you had with the Globex in the early days was like 4 or 5 minutes after major news. And you could really see then the execution advantage people on the floor had, like my friend Lewis, you know, quite an execution advantage by being able to get in and then announce the news, and I'd make my trades, and my account started coming up in size and gave my confidence back after the crash of 87. So a lot of love there on the Globex terminal, and it really lasted right around to about 2000, that advantage. And then retail started catching up. The time went from 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and got to the actual where there was no advantage anymore. And sure enough, there went the Globex. So you just don't know how fortunate you are in this day to be able to electronically trade the way you do. It's great. You don't have to call a broker on the phone, hope he answers your phone, get your ticket in timely. Y'all remember those days where you'd put a ticket in, you might get filled $3 or $4 away from where you told the guy to buy it, okay? Well, today it's direct, and that's beautiful for the retail. And that's where retail started, you know, doing and expanding what they've done today. And that's why you see this explosion of retail traders now. But anyway, that's my time with the Globex. And this was the original picture when it came to me. Showed it many years ago, how the US starts in the afternoon, and or that's the afternoon, the way that Asia starts today, okay, 6 to 4:30. And then from Europe, 4:30 to 9:30, the cash market. And then I divided the United States into two zones. Zone 1 being New York, 9:30 to 1:30, and zone 2 being California, I called it. So that was early and late because there was a big trend change at 12:30, 12 o'clock, which I now know and call Genesis right there. But the basis of this, it didn't come to me about 3 years ago. That was that time that I wanted to know and track right on Genesis, a very important piece of the puzzle. Then, of course, you got the afternoon, finish out the day. And those are based on the full day. So you will find, even on the commodity side, you can buy things in the evening, and day traders, or which is what I'm talking about here, have to put up less money. Well, why is that? Well, the exchange, if you go look at what they charge people, and some brokers really get these margins down real low for day trading. The way you lose money is the way I did in 87 is overnight. So break it down to 24-hour market. Now, the reference bars are all 30 minutes in length. And people say, Tom, why do you use a 30-minute market? Well, if you go back and study the last 100 years of exchanges, you will find on the exchange floor, they were in 30-minute blocks. You might have heard this name, Stottlemyre. Have anybody ever heard that name, Stottlemyre? He created a thing called volume profile based on this. But the people on the exchange would check out every 30 minutes with all the trades. Like my friend Lou would have to check out his trades he did during that 30-minute block. And they had it lettered. These blocks were lettered to keep up with when those trades were made. That's how they did it back in the day. But anyway, it was a rage once Stottlemyre came out with the volume profile and all that. Now, here's the times. Starts the first 30 minutes, 6 to 6:30. And that sets the tone for the whole day. That is your foundation bar. So if I go look at, say last night's RB1, right? If I go look at RB1 last night, I'm going to see a high and I'm going to see a low on RB1. And that sort of is the framework for the entire day. And then in the morning, RB2, this is where I come on T&T from 4:30 to 5, where a couple things, little insights here. If you're higher, say it goes higher than RB1 and higher than RB2, then that leads into RBX. But if you ever, the trend strength, let's just say that the trend strength, when they're back to back, is really strong. That's where you make a lot of money. So if you got, let's just come fast forward. If you got RBX matching up with RB3, then you got a strong trend. Like this morning on the sunrise, we had a negative signal that did not match up with the 9:30 to 10. Is everybody following what I'm talking about when you have a trend that really you just can put all the chips or put a lot of your chips on the board? You got to relate these two reference bars as you go around the clock. Right now, we're on RB3. Well, RB3's got its own numbers. That's your cash market for the day. And so, you have to relate this stuff, okay? And then, of course, as we move into Genesis, then you relate RB3 with Genesis, then you relate Genesis with RB4, then you relate RB4 with the closing bell. This is how this works. But what you want to see, and we'll show you if we have to, if he's got a slide, we'll show you the power. Like this morning, if you remember, I said if we go higher than, I think it was 68.86 at that time of the morning, you're going to go higher. Well, boy, did we. When we got higher in 68.86, the S&P climbed all the way, to 79, 78, 79 from down here at 40 area. That's a big move. And so when we were probing the TQQ, that was a huge trade you could have made. Can you put the TQQ in there? Put the TQQ in there. You'd have probed it, bought it at 86. How high did it actually go, Jonathan? Actual TQQ. 69.75?
Yeah, right around there. Yep.
Yeah. Folks, that's a lot of money in the TQQ on that trade with the sunrise. Okay. So be included and having the numbers, and it's pretty cool. Now the numbers have changed. They've got 67.62 and 69.33. Sort of in the middle of that range right now. Anyway, just to show you the power of this information I'm giving you. Okay. Now, do we have another slide before we go into the academy itself? Why don't we do me one more favor? Let's go through this before we go to the slides to finish it up, Jonathan. let's go through and look at the numbers that matter for the next couple hours for everybody to see. Let's start with E-mini. All right, he's got the frame there. I'm gonna have Jonathan read it off as I call out the ticker, and he'll give us those numbers. I would write these numbers down. This will define the next couple hours. What's the high? What's the low, Jonathan, of these numbers for the
The
E-mini?
high for the E-mini, and everybody should recognize that, is 58.75. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, that's my pivot number.
That's
I
right.
don't know. Okay, and what's the low?
And the low is about 42, 58.42.
58.42. Okay. All right, let's do the NASDAQ futures.
The NASDAQ, the frame high on the NASDAQ is 21,292.
Notice the NASDAQ's a little stronger than the E-mini relative looking at the picture. And what's the low?
Frame low is 21,113.
Okay, and let's drop down. Well, let's go on since we were talking about, look at crude oil, where people see crude oil.
So for crude, the frame high is 60.92, and the frame low is 60.25.
60.25, okay. And it's set up to go lower if it breaks at 60.25. I'll just tell you that. That's on crude. Look at gold. Oh, gold.
Gold futures, they have a frame high of 33.13 and a frame low of 32.82.
All right, let's drop to bonds. I think bonds are really important to look at. So let's look at bonds.
Looks like 110.23 is the frame high, and 110.08 is the frame low.
Those are good numbers, I think, for bonds. I'd like to see it above 111 to tell me it's time to rock and roll. Okay. All right, let's do some stocks. Let's do CoreWeave, since that's one everybody is interested in. CoreWeave.
114.25 is a frame high.
And the low?
103.63.
That's pretty wide for a stock at 103.63, but that's your risk if you got in it. It's a high risk stock, man. But I think it's worth the risk sometimes to step out there in the fire. Put Dave in there. Oh, Dave.
Dave's got a 198.50 frame.
Yeah, what's that high on Dave? I might dance with Dave if it takes out that high. What's that high?
The high of the day is 200.
Okay, maybe about 255. I might do it. And the low?
The frame low is 190.80.
Yes, sir. Not as bad as CoreWeave, but still a lot of risk. I hope y'all don't mind me looking at these. I like some of these. We'll call them wow ones. They keep my attention going, get my blood flowing.
We actually have a identifier here to kind of help you identify the risk. It's called the ID. You can see CoreWeave has an ID of 8, which is really high considering the average true range it moves at 9. But if we compare that to Dave, an ID of 8, Dave's still pretty high, up at close to 6. But that kind of helps you.
Microsoft in there and showing Microsoft real quick, just showing.
Microsoft is, let's see, let's let it load in here. Microsoft's got an ID of 1.6, so much lower.
See the difference? Everybody see the difference in Microsoft? Put Tesla now. Tesla's most popular ticker on exchange. Look at
About
Tesla.
4.5. About 4.5.
It's still 4.5, right, Jonathan?
Excuse me. Sorry. Yes.
It's a combination of a ATR volatility index proprietary data that we did years ago. It works like a charm if you know what you're doing with it. I probably don't use as much as I used to because I know all these stocks like the back of my hand, it seems like. So, but I can just tell that you're out there on that limb when you're with CoreWeave and Dave. I like that. Okay. Maybe the older I got, they say the older you get, you're supposed to get more conservative. I think the older I get more I like to go come up the bat. Okay. Anyway, have to control it though. Okay. All right. So we did Tesla. Let's do. Let's see. Do IBIT. Put IBIT in there, and let's just see what the numbers on IBIT is. I'm long IBIT.
The frame high on IBIT is 63.5.
And notice it's 2.67. Everybody see that?
The ID, yep.
What's the high? 63. What is it?
63.5 is the high, frame high.
Low?
6280. 6280.
Okay. And let's look at BitTO. I like BitTO as a trading stock too. What's BitTO?
BitTO, it's got an ID of, let it load in here, 2.66.
That's reasonable. And what's its high and low?
The frame high is 23, call it 23.5. Frame low 23.30. 23.30 frame low.
Pretty tight. Okay. All right, MSTU. Now, see, I'm attracted to this stock. Look at this ID though.
9.
They give you some idea about MSTU?
Very high.
Huh?
Very high.
You got to pay attention if you're trading that stock. That's all I'm saying. All right. But anyway, taking this in combination sort of tells you what's happening when it's happening. But this feature inside the roadmap really keeps you straight. Now, here's the way I do it. If let's just say that let's pick a stock here. Let's pick CoreWeave. Put CoreWeave in there. All right, CoreWeave is right at the top of its bullish range. Everybody see that? But if it took out that high, I would go immediately on CoreWeave. I'm just showing you on CoreWeave because it moves pretty good, to MTI by DTI. Go look at MTI by DTI.
All right, MTI by DTI on CoreWeave. I'll narrow it down to a 30-minute only here.
Yeah.
There you go.
You can see it's consolidating right now. So I've got my numbers on CoreWeave, and all I'm doing is waiting for a better setup to get in. I'm already in it. I'm long it, but I'm just saying, putting those two together. That's why I tell people have MTI by DTI and have a roadmap. You're about light years ahead of anybody you know, okay, when you got those two working for you. All right, let's finish up with TQQ, SQQ. We'll just put TQQ in there because I think it's going to end up that way, so we'll just look at it. So it's bullish on MTI. Everybody see that? Now let's go look at it on the roadmap. Where's that top there? 69.33.
Yep.
I'll probably buy some more of TQQ if we get above 69.33. I'm still long. I've taken a little bit off, but not much. And the reason is because the market is going up, it's correcting, and the corrections are not reversals. Is this helping everybody, me doing this? When I can show you these kind of details and stuff, does this really give you the confidence when you got these tools to really make some good trades? It should. All right, let's go to my slide presentation. You're at the Academy right now. The Academy is something where we teach. And you want to answer Keith's question before I get ready to go through the slides?
What is the ID on the roadmap? That's a function of risk, and you can compare the ID across stocks to tell you which one has more implied risk than the other. That's the best way to think about it, Keith.
Good answer. Developed many years ago. All right, let's talk about the Academy. I think a lot of you might need this. We teach 4 days a week in here. Jonathan sort of given the schedule. of who teaches and the days they teach.
Yeah, the standard schedule is I'll go on Monday morning at 10. And then Chuck will go at Tuesday morning at 10. Jeff Smith goes at Wednesday morning at 10. And Tom, you go Thursday morning at 10:30. That's the standard schedule. Sometimes if we have a Monday morning webinar, like this week, I'll move my session to Friday. So I'm actually going tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
There you go. Anyway, but here's how it'll work. Starting the instant you join, you'll have full access to the roadmap and all the features, the newest model. And I think it's the most transmit, just I can't say enough good things about the roadmap. You saw how it made us money today, knowing those numbers. And, love letters from people all the time. They agree with me. Todd's here today, and he'll probably add to this, but ask anyone at DTI, include the staff and students, none of them will trade without the roadmap. And that's true. They've seen us do it over the years. Any knowledge or any trades that I make, Jonathan or Jeff or Chuck or anybody that's associated with us makes, it's got a foundation in the roadmap. Todd says it. Wes says he enjoys the presentation, showing the true value and help guide his trades. That's what we want, right? To have a process to take those emotions out of it. The horse race, we already talk about it next time we get together, the roadmap software, and my market time is Triple Crown. I like that, Randy. Yep, market time. They said you couldn't do it. I showed them, yeah, you can. Just got to work at it for about 40-something years. And today you get full access to the same suite of tools our top students rave about. Perfect timing, because starting next week, to join a member of our team, DTI's daily strategy session. They occur every day, Monday through Thursday. Opportunities like today, talking about it and find out things, and you learn things. News, we already do I wouldn't mind doing a thing on news either, Jonathan, because I really am a good news trader. And I could show people some stuff. Maybe we'll do that in my next session. The key levels we use, how to use them, all the questions that you have about anything that we're doing here. Really is a focus. It's sort of like, if you try to stay in shape, you got to go to the gym every day. Well, with the academy, you have a chance to constantly update your knowledge platform as we do it. These daily sessions are great because you always run into things that you say, I wonder about that, I wonder about this. Not a month. We want you to be with us a year in here, 1 year. 300 live trade, you get special invitations. Just, maybe if I'm having something that's really educational, one of my services, something you're not a member of, you'll get an invitation maybe to come for that, okay? And sort of like a pass. We take theory into application. And there's only one path you got to educate yourself. You ought to see the people that have been with me that have the roadmap, have the MTI, have the education. They do so much better than all the new people who join because they've learned and put their time in. Carol, I see her in here. She's like a sponge absorbing things and trading the markets right alongside us. Live trading, about 3 a week, side by side, we do it. Placing those trades when it's time to place them. I don't like a lot of emotion. Who likes emotional pain when they put on a trade? You know what that is? You buy it and it goes down immediately. I don't like that. So I'm very particular about how much emotional pain I'm willing to take a trade. That's incorporated in anything I do. That's time of day. No, we don't charge $5,000. We should, but we don't. A lot of value in here. Get access. Got a big curriculum there you can work at. Sort of a home study course for you besides this, the live stuff. It teaches you the ins and outs of using the roadmap and how to do it. We'll answer those questions and we cover questions after the thing. We have a DTI Master Trader Chat 5 days a week you can be part of. There's Chuck. He's my first employee. He's been with me all these years. He's great. Isn't he great? Boy, he's really added a lot to my TNT. I really appreciate it too. Yeah, most of the people you see, Jonathan, Jeff, me, everybody, we'll sit here and get it out there. A lot of training. A lot of value. All right, let's recap everything. We've got a retirement calendar inside here, the roadmap software, show you how that works. The daily strategy sessions, it's huge. Live trading, you've traded with me live, that's valuable. The chat room is there to help you navigate questions you might have when you do trades. 38 lessons so far and growing. Master Trader Academy. They calculated at 15,000. It's a fraction of that. Another one more big, huge bonus. Every year in June, we'll hold the Sawgrass Trading Conference. You don't have to wait long for this one. Most important trading event we do annually, June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Ask anybody who's ever been to Sawgrass or taken it online. I will trade 10 times over that 2-day period. That's to help you cover your travel costs, cover anything that goes, and also to show you face-to-face the importance of that. Phenomenal events every year. Every year it gets harder and harder to do better than the last year. I really enjoy it. This year we're back to TPC. If you're going to be successful, you'll probably end up being there. Everyone's been with me about 12, 14 years now. A lot of time. Join us at this year's. Every member of this will get a free pass in there. If you paid for this year, you get a free pass moved to next year by joining. There it is, premium ticket. That cuts down the total cost by doing it that way. I know a lot of people's paid for this year. Part of the academy. We got the price, what we used to charge just for the foundation alone, original price of the roadmap. No better value in this. That's a clear, limited to 10 members, okay? So here's what you need to do. You need to call Kelly Barber at DTI Trader, if you got any questions. We got a link for the academy. We'll drop it in here and talk to Andrak at DTI Trader, see if you got any special thoughts. There it is there, dtitrader.com/academy. Claim one of those spots, get in there. I'll be back next Thursday. Like I said, I think I'm gonna make next Thursday about how to make money with news. We have so much news, I think I need to spend some time showing you how it sets up and how to use it. Any questions for me? Jonathan, any questions at all? Okay, Jonathan, this has been a fun day. We won't be back today. I'll be looking at the market. I've been pretty transparent with what I'm doing. And now we got to see how this day develops. We're going into our Genesis time frame. And so we'll let the computers. Neil, put your phone number and email, and Jonathan will pass it on to Kelly or Jeffrey, and they'll call you, Neil, okay? If you want to call, want to talk. Put your name, and your phone number, and Jonathan will make sure Kelly or Jeffrey get a hold of you. Fair enough? Thank you, Neil. Kelly is Barbara at DTI Trader. Barbara at DTI Trader is her email. And Andrak at DTI Traders is. All right, folks, let's go make some money this afternoon. That's what I'm going to do. Let's see how this market develops. As Michael says, learning is earning. He's right about that. Keep your eye on those bonds. They take out 111. I think it could be pretty interesting. See you on the flip side. Yeah, hey, Barbara, if you'll call Kelly, she'll work it out and get you in there. Slight difference since you did that, okay? She knows how we do that. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you, Tom.
Fun day. One last push. I'm going to trade the TQQ SQQ probably this afternoon inside that weekly room. Make sure if you signed up, get in there. Neil, put your name and phone number, they'll call you.
We got your info, Neil, from a moment ago. Yep, I'll have Kelly reach out to you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, to join the weekly newsletter, which Tom talked about at the very beginning of today's presentation, it's dtitrader.com/weekly, dtitrader.com/weekly. And I'll post that link into the chat real quick. I think we had a slide for that earlier as well. So I'll show this T-Buzz weekly trade letter slide for just a moment, dtitrader.com/weekly, and then I'll switch back to the Academy slide. Then we'll finish up. Astro, if you head over to oneclicktrading.com, if you're a part of the Master Trader Academy, which we offered this morning, it does include a live trade room with Chuck Crow. You can find a link to that room inside the membership area for the Academy. So that's the Master Trader Academy, which comes with the roadmap software. It comes with your 4 times a week educational sessions with the team on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings. It also includes the DTI trade room in there, which that's this Master Trader chat room right here, 20 hours per week. The curriculum and the ticket to Sawgrass. The only thing you won't find in the members area is the ticket to Sawgrass, of course. Just give us a call to inquire about that. But everything else is inside that membership area on oneclicktrading.com. Thanks for joining us this morning, folks. We'll see you next time. I think the next event with Tom is, I believe, tomorrow's weekly wrap up. But if we have a flash meeting before then, you'll get a notification via email, text, telegram. You can email support@dtitrader.com if we didn't cover anything you needed today. And Yasmin, I'll post you my email directly. Thanks again. Yeah, I'll be live this afternoon at 4:15 JD for some training on the market timing indicator in MTI by DTI, which Tom showed this morning. So if you have MTI by DTI, you'll get an invite to today's educational session in the afternoon at 4:15.